Okay.
Hi and welcome. We're here in Lille, a city in north of France, at the French National Community Center Conference, the ninth in 100 years. And we have today special guests at this international platform to reflect on community centers. So let's have our two guests. Ça va pas l'air de marcher. Arjana from the US and Nanna from Sweden to say a word about themselves.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be in this prestigious conference and to connect with people from all around the world. My name is Arjana Lezai. I am here from New York and bringing the voice of my community, and in the meantime, connecting and discussing with colleagues from all over the world about the issues we're all facing at this moment.
Anna?
Thank you, Ariana. My name is Nanna Castillo, and I am representing the Swedish Settlement Federation. And yes, I'm also very grateful to be here and exchanging.
So we'll have this conversation. My name is Mourad, and I'm so happy to have this conversation with the two of you to reflect on our work, modern society, and what's at stake. So if you don't mind, so it's a 3 days gathering here, over 4,000 people from France, but also 100 members of the International Federation of Settlements and Neighborhood Centers. So we are all part of this network. 2 days ago, the conference started with a General Assembly of our International Federation. Can you share your experience and what was said and shared during this day to start with?
I was thinking about the fishbowl that we experienced yesterday. There was an interesting occasion where our North American colleagues taught us how to do a fishbowl experimental method. That is a way to talk about things that are really difficult to talk. For example, racism. And that was an experience that is welcome in many situations. And obviously also in Sweden, because we have the problem in Sweden that we don't want to talk about these issues, about racism. So what we have been forced to do is to take a knowledge of what the North Americans have produced, like words or methods, because in that sense it's easier to talk. It's not just my experience, it's our experience. And for example, unconscious bias, that you prefer someone who looks like you if you're gonna give a person a job. And the reason why I like a fishbowl is that you were allowed to express your thoughts, your experiences without being questioned or without being gaslighted. I don't know, what did you were there too, what did...
Actually, I participated in this session, and the whole idea behind this session is that systemic racism is ingrained in society and is part of history. But if something has happened over the years, now is the time that we start conversation within us. And we understand those are painful conversations, and we have to find the strength within ourselves and reflect. Whatever happened in the past is not necessary to continue happening in the future. The real change happens if we start opening up the conversation, giving the tools and the ideas to the community to reflect and see where we stand and how we can connect and work together.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is it possible for you to give us an insight, to share a specific experience within the programs you developed in your community centers and share a very detailed experience that will help us as French and the other IFS Friends member to get a better understanding of what's at stake and how you tackle those issues?
In order to address an issue, you have to accept that problem, that there is a problem. But the society over the years, and a lot of us are in denial. complete denial, because we are taking it from the position of power. We are comfortable within us, but then we have to understand there are communities who are suffering in silence, who do not have voice, and they cannot bring their problems, their issues to the decision-making table. So that's why we have to start and empower people to be part of the conversation, to bring their stories, to bring their suffering, their struggles. But in the meantime, we have to use our privileges, our reflection within us to become ally and open up, pave the road for them to find the strength to be part of the conversation.
Yes. I don't know how it is in France, but in Sweden, and I would like to hear about it more. In Sweden, we, at least in settlements, we work in that way that we also try to engage younger people, and we try to give them tools to organize themselves, because we've seen that when we do that, we also reach out for the rest of the community. And while doing this, while trying to give the youth tools to organize themselves, we are also listening, and we're also learning as grown-ups. And that information we have to not to give away, but to make sure to grow ourselves, because we all have prejudices. We all have a little bit of a small bit of racism inside, so we all have to acknowledge that. But while working with young kids or young people, you see what's happening in society, and you see the lack of tools to participate in democratic process. It's not only knowledge about that there is this and this right, you have also to know or to be led to the table where the conversation is. And that is, I think, settlements, or all of us, our work, our main goal, to try to give these tools to other people so they can come to the table.
Thank you very much. Racism is not just a concept, but when we talk about racism, discrimination, we use words, expressions, references, what the law says, what it doesn't say, and how we can get access to be protected. But the thing is that racism is also an historical and a social process. And in our different cultures, social and historical experiences, we have to face things differently. In France, as regard to what happened in the days of colonization, integration of foreign populations, your history in the US is different. Recently in Sweden, there's been this switch, right?
Yes.
In the national, welcoming, cultural, political, social ways of living in the past, and this has a turn happened a few years ago after the bombing and things that happened. Same thing in France and other countries. So we all living the same difficulties. Our communities are facing the same behavior. So we start with what the ally building process starts with the storytelling, according of who you are, where your parents or grandparents come from. Those stories should be heard, so that we start from educating people and then engaging people in a process through which their voice will be heard, right? So can you explain what happened in your countries and in this switch that happened a few years ago? And then, Arjana, can you also share the contemporary situation in the US and how in your community, locally based community, you work engaging your community members fighting against discrimination and racism?
Yes, well, the situation, I think you might recognize this in Sweden, is that we had a big denial about racism. Like, we are not racist. We are the most equal land in the country in the world, sort of. And because we denied, and we even said that we are colorblind, we denied any kind of racism. So then we couldn't talk about the situation. We couldn't change anything. And at the same time, that provided for the far right, to organize themselves even better, because we didn't accept that this was happening. So now we have a highly racist party in the government, and they are changing things like who is in the board of the universities. That's really like this is 1933 happened all over again, and people are still denying the fact that there is racism. They are still denying us the right to talk about racism because we don't want to make people uncomfortable. But our history, our Swedish history, is uncomfortable. We have been, being racist first of all to the Sapmi people, or natives, or Aboriginals, and we still do it now. Like we take assimilation thought as the only alternative, the only true alternative. That's why I say I'm Swedish, but I also say I'm Latina Swedish or Swedish Latina.
European Swedish Latino? How
Yeah,
European are you?
I don't know. I think Swedish Latina is fine for me because I have my heart in several places of the world, so yes. But the thing is that I don't see myself as a victim of racism. I see as a fighter against racism, because nobody can put me as a victim as long as I'm able to organize myself and make my voice heard. You know what I mean? That's why we are here, to exchange knowledge, to organize ourselves. That's the most important, organization.
And very well, Anna, you said that these conversations are very uncomfortable. We have to understand that once we start the conversation, we have to feel comfortable to be uncomfortable. Change will happen when we dig deep within our conscious and empower people within us. Things happen. We cannot change history now, but the moment has come. We open up the conversation and we try to work together to do what's right for all of us and empower the people who have been oppressed over the years and give them the voice, the platform, and we have to be using our privileges to bring their voice in those tables where the conversation and decision are made, and in the meantime to empower our communities to participate in the democratic process, to go and vote, to elect people they represent their values, their strengths, and brings their ideas to the decision-making table. We all have to unite. Also, as Mourad said earlier, we live in different continents, but we face the same obstacles. We have the same struggles. So a real change will happen when we unite, share our best practices, share our work, and empower our communities to be the force for change. And in the meantime, like it's a French word, l'égalité, I'm sorry.
Égalité,
Liberté,
fraternité,
l'égalité, fraternité. So we all have to be together to bring the change, because this world we all live in has to move forward, and we are not going backwards.
To quote someone quite famous, we could rephrase by saying, here today, under the white, red and blue, the blue, white and red, yellow, and blue again, we can declare our devotion, as he said, to life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. That was a quote said by President Obama when the former president visited his partners at the time and President Obama. And that was a moving moment when also he expresses our values in French, in the French language. Maybe at this point, can we share something about the European Union? I work in a community center based called L'Axa in a city called Aulnay-sous-Bois. It's a city located in the outskirts of Paris. And the bulk of the population is mainly a popular place, right? Very welcoming, disadvantaged area, working class area, and people whose origin are, coming from colonized country, ex-colonized country. So there are all the issues you mentioned, integration and things like that, are very felt in the community. The thing is that I think what is brings hope and possibility is what we can do within the European Union. I'll explain myself sharing one or two examples. A few years ago, we started, thanks to all the work done by the National Federation, to enhance a program dedicated to Europe. So it's an educational program educating people about Europe. Within that program, we launched a series of youth exchange. So those youth exchanges within the IFS networks allowed us to have our youngsters expressing themselves about who they are, where they come from, what they do, and how they define themselves. Most of the times, when we mention youth, we project a lot of things, right? But when you give this opportunity, those space, safe space, youngsters meeting other youngsters within our community and leaving them the possibility to express themselves, that's how it goes. So you have Mamadou, Aminata, Salim, they will recognize themselves when if they see our video, and they say, I'm French, I'm Amin, I'm French, I'm Salimata, I'm Roulé, I'm French. In France, they don't say that. They said, I'm Amin, Salimata, Roulé, Mohamed, I'm Algerian, Moroccan, Malian, I come from Senegal. They don't identify themselves as being French. This is something so powerful that happens abroad. Within the EU framework, this citizenship that is not, that is expressed abroad, that we can use, work on, to work on the national citizenship, which is the French citizenship. Second example, if we have the chance to go like a few meters behind, we have this art creation program. Last August, one minibus, one youth worker, 7 youngsters. They went to Budapest. So Aulnay-sous-Bois, near to Paris, Strasbourg, München, Vienna, Budapest, with this flag all the way, asking for people to express their views about peace, Europe, and the people, the respect of human dignity. So they collected those messages of support and hope. But the thing that happened is that they went to those European places, and the people, sorry to say, I hate those expressions, black and brown youngsters from community centers in the suburb of Paris. I did not expect us to enroll, advocate for peace within the EU framework. So the different meetings, conversation, exchanges that they had was so moving and powerful. They're here within our project with this picture of a young Sofia, a 10-year-old Ukrainian girl who's living most of her life in the basement, in protection from, the bombing and everything. And so she's there. They draw the pictures of her face. She's part of that program. And we're connecting with our friends in Ukraine with this engaged program, putting youngsters first. So the identity, the fight against discrimination, fighting racism, as you said, starts with storytelling, and then is made possible by putting people, or actually in that circumstances, youngsters, they're making their voices heard and their actions told, shared, and expanded as far as possible. So I'm happy if you can then say a few words, meet the youngsters, write something on this flag, and maybe participate in the art project, and we'll share in that video. Maybe we could add the picture of the whole painting in the end.
Yes, indeed. The younger generation is the one who we are starting and opening up the conversation, but they will be the one who will bring the change happening. They are the hope. So I always believe that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's always a lot of work needs to get done. Us as elders, we have to teach, educate, empower, and in the meantime, the communities, like you mentioned earlier, is not you and us, or they and us, we are all in this together, and then united we can bring change. Change does not happen overnight. We cannot be discouraged, but as long as we open up the conversation and have everyone take away and dig deep within their conscience and find in somehow, some way, the tools, the resources, how we can become useful contributors to this new narrative that is happening. So once we open up the conversation, once we dig deep within our conscious and empower other people, so it's always paying forward whatever was given to you. So it's like reach one and pull one. So it's always become that change agent, become that empowerer, give the tools and the strength within those black and brown communities who do not believe in themselves, because the society have made them believe that they are lesser than. Actually, they are as powerful as us. We are we have more things that connects us, more values that connects us than the skin of the color of the skin. We are not just the color of the skin. We are humans with values, hopes, interests, ideas. So that's why we have to connect with our values, interests, and ideas to educate each other and move this conversation forward. The conversation is open up. There is no going back. Let's move forward and bring everyone on board.
Anna?
Yes, I think, but the thing is, all of us who work with youngsters, they see through us. And they, they won't buy our narratives unless we have had to do our own work, in the sense that we all have to step up, and just ask ourselves, why do things look like they do? What is my role in it? How are we making this space safe to talk about these issues? And I mean, I know it's uncomfortable, to be the white person in the room and hearing all these experiences. I know, I understand that, but in that moment, you have a choice to either become a denier or be part of the solution through accepting, okay, now that I know, now that I heard, now I will ask myself, what can I do? So I think that before we start to educate each other, we have to ask each other, what is our role? How do we think? Why do we do? Not with shame. I don't want to provoke shame. I don't want to do the game blame. I just want to examine, and for that we have to have the talks, both in the living room and in these spaces. So I wish there would have been more of these kind of discussions here today or yesterday, and maybe there will be more tomorrow, because these affect our work so much, so deep. I don't know, always, am I wrong? And maybe I missed, maybe there are these talks here that I missed. I don't know, you have to help me out here.
But just opening up the conversation maybe is a step in the right direction, but maybe we can use our privileges, maybe we can use our lived experiences to say sorry to the people who suffered. I understand that we cannot just ease their pain, but just being the ally, just offering our sincere, our sincere apologies for their suffering, maybe this could be part of the healing process. So if we start heal, then we start finding the power within us to bring the change. And we have to understand that we cannot, nobody will let us go to the decision-making table. We have to fight our way through there. So we always cannot be and stay in the sideline and say, the history have just judged us, have oppressed us. No, we are equal. We have powers, we have strengths, we are educated. We can energize our community to take the power within their own hands. So it's the beginning of a long work, a long journey.
And thanks to your presence here at this conference, thanks to the fact that your daily fights and engagement in your communities, the fact that you're sharing your stories, your experiences here with 4,000 people is a part of that process. Our network is built upon strong and powerful connections. What can we do with this? How can we achieve our goals? Making through the different programs, conferences, workshops, the ideas that we share, the good practices that we share, and how working together makes it possible for us very locally to make a change.
We cannot expect the change to happen overnight, but we never will give up and cannot give up on the work that we already have started. Everything will start small, within a very small community. Just like Anna said earlier, let's start around our dinner table, talk to our family members, and expand to our neighbors, friends, relatives, bring it to our community centers. And this way, let's ripple outwards. So this tsunami that has started, let's let it progressive worldwide rather than staying enclosed in one place, in one cocoon. These conferences are the platform where we all connect, share our best practices, exchange ideas, and learn from each other.
I have tsunami on my right, maybe cold and winter and like ice places on my left, references.
Yes, but I also, because I work, as you explained it so well, so I'm just going to add a small thing that while working with children and young people, I was aware that even myself, when I entered a room with people who had no other ethnicity than Swedish, when I was the only one in the room with that background, I felt unsafe. That's not how we build up, countries. That's not how we build up communities. And I wish that if you are that person who are in majority in the room or in the country, to acknowledge the privilege you have to become an ally, to acknowledge that the fact that you can actually be part of a structure that you were born into, a structure that taught you to think in a way that might be racist. Doesn't make you a racist, but you have the choice to be aware and ask questions, and that will bring you to be part of the solution. So that's what I wish people to bring with them, that there is no sense in feeling guilt or pointing fingers or whatever, but we have to see what we can do ourselves.
Can I ask you a private question? So,
Of course.
I know we just talked before, right? But are you mothers? You
Yes.
are, Anna, and you are, Arjana. I'm not surprised, because the conversations turns around future and hope, starting with the youngsters and how we work with youngsters to be the change they want to see. So I'm not. So this is a very, very, as I can hear through your words, right, and reading through the lines, that there is something very intimate in the way you express your views on the future and hope in youth. So maybe I can share at this point a French experience, because we need to give a chance, create a space for youngsters to express themselves. So we have here at very local level groups of youngsters who gathers different times throughout the years, very regularly, and they talk about whatever they want. Religion, social issues, social justice, schools, transports, leisure, whatever. And at some points, they meet, but at the national level. So you're in a space during a few days where the place is hers. They're there, and everything is set up for them to gather, to collect words, experiences, point of views, to build something starting from the youngsters for the youngsters. And this is very powerful examples that I hi to every youngsters involved. Keep up the good fight and the great work done by the youth workers throughout our country and network. Keep up the good fight again. Support kids in their actions, because this is an example that I would like to, I want to share, because this is not a French thing, but this is a typically network national-wide connections program that is very powerful too.
And you mentioned the role of mothers. I think that the seeds of change are being planted in a family, and they are being flourished into the society. So the family has to be that hub where all the conversations start, and all the youngsters and youth being educated to be open-minded, to be acceptive of our other religious, other communities, people who look differently than them but share the same values, share the same strengths, have mothers, fathers, we are all the same. So that's why it starts from us as mothers, as family, to empower our children to move this conversation forward and to bring it to the next stage.
I don't remember which general or which country who said, if you give me an army full of mothers, I will win this war in 2 days.
That's
a good one.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
And I think that, yes, motherhood is present here, but also I'm very grateful for all the things that our young people have taught me, you know, both my own son and everybody, but also very painful experiences. Because my son has my dark eyes, but he was blonde growing up. And all the kids around him, you know, got the answer, where are you from? They were all born in Sweden. But he, because he had blonde hair, wasn't given that question. So he was so sad. And he was like, but ask me. It's not, I mean, that is something that you have to acknowledge, that we mothers get our force from our pain. The pain makes you strong. And that's exactly what happens with the young people suffering from racism. They are very strong, and they have, very good ways, very good tools and methods to bring out, ways to cooperate and ways to cope with the world. And we have so much to learn from them.
And not only ways to cooperate and cope with the world, but connect and then unite, energize each other. And you have seen the power of social media. They are like a step ahead of us when it comes to advocate for their issues. So why not having them, bringing them on board to advocate for social justice and to advocate to change this systemic racism who is rooted in our history. So let's the work start now, and we all unite. And of course, let's have our younger generation be the changing force, the driving of this. I cannot say it.
Thank you so much for everything you said. We mentioned youth, we mentioned issues, we mentioned mothers. Can we say a word about seniors? What
Yes.
about seniors, the community, in your communities, in your work, in the work done by your local-based center?
That is working with older adults. I don't want to call them seniors.
Sorry then. It's maybe not a correct word
Older
coming from the
adults,
French word,
or
sorry.
like the UN is calling them older persons. I would say that the aging in this society is being seen as a need base, but actually there is so much strength within all our older adult communities, which they are the participant, especially in the US, they are the very first one to go and vote, to make their voice heard, to participate in the democratic process, because they have their own lived experiences. They have suffered through history, they have suffered through a hiring and firing process and being judged for how they look, who they are, and whatever. And that's why now they are trying to do what is right and trying to mentor the younger generation to not repeat the same mistake that were done to them.
Anna?
Yes, I have a beautiful story about this artist and the power of art, in the sense that she did a documentary, audio documentary about an all, help me out here, LGBTQI plus person, a transsexual person. And when my kids, which I work with, from the same community, heard about the story about this woman, they got a sense of belonging, not only in their space but in history. And that's something I want to, it's not their, it sounds like that's the only thing they are good for, like telling stories and be part of history. No, it's also their experiences and their learning from it, yes. But we have to see, that it is not the only group that can teach us a lot. Also people with different functions, help me out here, function disabilities, do you say it like that? Have a lot to teach us, because if we adapt our cities to people with disabilities, we also get a better city for all of us. All of us get, we get better lights, we get, better pavements, everything gets better if we include all parts of society into the table. So that's what I want to say.
If I can share something very French, but you might have also lived and experience in your countries and everywhere around the world, community centers in France would not be what they are if it wasn't thanks to the older adults. There's such assets because we count on them as volunteers. Not only they share their stories about how the community looked like 40 years ago, they engaged themselves in education, activities,
Yes.
block parties, every single moment, and very warmth and sharing moments that we live within the community that makes our place so special and unique. So when I think about older adults in our programs, I don't see them as asking or expecting services first, but to commit and engage. And that's what makes our place is so special and unique.
Actually, older adults are the assets of our society. They selflessly give their time, their energy, their experiences with the communities. So our strength, although we mention about youth, rely within them. They are the one paving the road for the younger generations to continue and bring the change.
Yes.
We have maybe a few minutes for last words, conclusion, each one of you, if you might.
I am immensely grateful to be here in France and to witness. It's my first time being in this conference, and I am blown away from French hospitality. Honestly, I am immensely grateful for anyone I met here, from the mayor, deputy mayor of Lille, the president of the United Federations, the French Federation. Everyone opened their hearts, their arms to welcome this event, and even the people on the street. I felt so welcome. I felt so much at home. Thank you, friends. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to the next event.
Thanks, Arjana. Hannah?
Yes, I would like to thank everybody for allowing us to do this exchange. Also Sophie, who's been, working 24/7, amazing woman. And I also would like to thank all the young people here that's also teaching us a lot, because that's actually what they will take over one day, and they are already teaching us what kind of world they want to live in. So it's, yeah.
Thanks to you. Thank you for being here, sharing, building a stronger network. This event is so special. I had the chance to experience the one that took place in Lyon over 10 years ago. And this experience was a life-changing one. So I'm so happy to be here and live this experience with new members, new colleagues, new volunteers, new partners. And I'm sure that those moments will help us go bigger, better, faster, and more.
And thank you also.
And the larger the coalition, the broader the impact.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Merci à tous.
Merci.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.